All right, we'll start the Mamer. Kodesh. This is in the final Maimorim on the Bracha, the Lekutei Torah. So, in the first of these Maimorim of Bracha begins with Va'asa Merivives Kodesh. Hashem came, Mahafia Mahar Paron, the Pasuk says, Va'asa Merivives Kodesh. He came from Har Paran and then also Merivives Kodesh. So the idea of Rivavis is a number. 10,000 is called the Rivavis. It's going to talk about the different values, the equivalent of the different numbers. It's going to say the highest number is Rivava. Rivava is 10,000. Also, Merivives Kodesh, he comes from the level of Rivaves Kodesh, the highest number, which is 10,000. There's no more number in the Torah more than 10,000. You say many times 10,000, but 10,000, the Revava, that's the highest number. It's going to explain the different numbers over here. For behold, Yesh Yechidois Asiris Meis Chulu. There is singular, ones, then there is tens, asiros, tens, and then there is mayas, hundreds. He's going to explain the singulars are the midas, they are singulars. Chokma bina are called tens, those are the higher. And then you have mayas, which is even higher than that chulu. Which he brings down, there is a way of setting up the letters, aleph, bays. So you set them up by threes. You start with the letter aleph, and you have Yud Kuf, that's be the first set, Aleph Yud Kuf. And then you go Beis Chof Reish. Beis comes after Aleph, and Chof comes after Yud, and Reish comes after Kuf. And then you have Gimel, Lamed, Shin, that's where it goes on. And Dalet, not sure, that's the system over there to count. In the Kabbalah, he brings down that. So you have Aleph is singular, that's the singulars. The Yud, those are the tens. The Kufs, those are the hundreds. And then you also have the base Chav Reish. I'm not sure exactly how that goes, but the Reish presumably is the Revavis, that's the 10,000. And you have the thousands also hinted in here. I'm not sure exactly. Got to look this up. But this is Kamesha Kosov. This is like it's written the Sefer Shari Oira in the book Shari Oira. That's the author is Yosef N. Gigatalia. That's the name of the author of the Sefer. He brings down the different numbers, the letters. In Shar Aleph, the Inyan over there when he discusses Meiser or Meiser Min HaMeiser. So Meiser is 10. A tenth. Meiser mina meiser, that's 100. So that's the number of 100. Also will be inyan, and when he discusses also in the idea, say Meya Adnei Chosov. There were 100 sockets of silver building of the Mishkan, Ein Shov. So we have the number 100 over there. And then Mispar Hagodl, and the greatest number who is the word Revava or Ribui? What's the word? Mispar Hagodl who?
Bubble.
Revava, right?
Yeah.
Two based. Kamesha Kosu, like the pasuk says, Ahayi la'alfei Revava. When they were blessing Rivka before she left, so they said you should be for thousands, Revava 10,000. That's the highest number. Uksiv. Another time we find in the pasuk the number Revava, 100 of you will chase 10,000. So Revava is the highest number. Shein mispar lemaili himenu b'loshen hakodesh. In Loshen hakodesh there is no number which is beyond the Revava. Kimashu yoser mi Revava, because that which is more than Revava, more than 10,000, That doesn't have its own name. There's no number. There's no other number to say by itself in the Torah. Ki'im, the only way shenikra kach v'kach alof. Either we say this how many thousands, or kach v'kach riba, or how many such and such 10,000s. The pasuk says the riba voice Alpha Yisrael. Again, the 10,000s, thousands of Yisrael. Uksiv. Pasuk in Yoinei brings down Harbe Mishtem Esrei Riboy Adam. So they're much more than 12,000 times 10,000 Riboy Adam. Yoinei Shevsim Dalet. And Velochein, and also Metzina B'Mishnah Rishpek Zayin the Brachas. We find in the Mishnah in the beginning of the 7th chapter of Brachas, it says, Bishloisha Ma'u Omer. What do you say when you have 3 people, you're making a mezuman, and then it goes avachulu, what do you do when you have 10, 100, until at beribu Ma'u Omer. Until, what do you say when you have 10,000? But it doesn't go any further than 10,000. Ribui is the highest number. In Eksiv, the pasuk says, "Vayiyu chayi Sarah." The life of Sarah were meyo shana, ve'esrim shana, ve'sheva shana. So you have the number 100, and you have the number 20 shana, and then you have 7 years. So by the sheva it says shonim in a plural. By the esrim and by the meyo it says shana. Over there it says sheva shana. Sheva, because 7 represent B'chinas Sheva Midas Ha'elyonos. That is the 7 supreme midas. Shebepasuk L'cho Habaye Hagedula, which are in the pasuk L'cho Hashem Hagedula. Kulu Adam Amlocha. Until the Eibush that we say, the Eibush that is the Gedula, until the pasuk Amlocha. Those are basically the 7 spheres that we have, which are hinted in this pasuk. Sha'amidos, why do we say shonim? Because they're plural, because they are distinct, they're separate. Each one of the midas, there's 7. Sha'amidos, hebebchinas is chalchus hamadregis zumizu. The midas are in a level of separation of the steps one from the other. They're different levels. Sharei hachesed v'hagavuris hamidas negdia. They are the emotions, the traits of chesed, kindness, and strictness are opposite emotions. So they're separate. Here, not only separate, but they're opposite. We're trying to bring out how separate they are. That's why it says shonim. That's why it says sheva shonim in Loshen Rabim in a plural. As opposed to Chochma Bina, Nemar Aleihem, over there it says Esrim Shono. Chochma Bina, each one is represented by 10. Chochma is 10 and Bina is 10. Together it's Esrim, but even though it's Esrim, it's still Shono, Loshen Yochid. It says a Loshen of Shono, Loshen Yochid. Kihein Trei in the language parsha, because Chochma and Bina are like 2 friends that never separate, so they always go together. So it's like one. Kimoi, as for example, the Rechmoshul be'odom. A person, by way of example, shemevin ha'halocha al yidei koyach ha'seichel shabai. Person understands a halacha using his intellect, the powers of intellect. Shabai memela nichla b'zeh koyach ha'seichel shabai. Memela nichla b'zeh chochma bina. So memela, it's included in both chochma bina. Vayim b'zoyer parshas chayisora daf chov gimel amadav. Hine a kolponim muvim mizeh. So what do we understand from this? Sha'amidas kol midei rak b'chinas yichidus. The midas, every midah is one, is a singular, is one. Sheva, shonim, is separate. Sharei sheva midas. Sheba pasuk nikra sheva shonim, because these 7 midas in the pasuk are called 7 shonim, plural, separate. And in Cain, kol mida he nimnis rak lebchinas achas. So each measure, each emotion, each mida, each measure is only counted for one. It's only one. Ashenken has seichel, but by the seichel ubchinas hasiris. Up there we call it. It's in the levels of tens. The seichel is the 10th. The chokhmah bina, each one is 10, and together is 20. Why sharei chokhmah bina nikro esrim shona. Over there we call it esrim shona loshen yochad. Batamhu, why is it? Kikidei sheyiya gilu hamidus mehaseichel. In order for it to be a revelation from the midos, from the seichel reveals through the intellect. You reveal the midas. There's a process. First, you understand it intellectually, and from that understanding, you create an emotion. So there is a big jump. There's a big descent from the way it is in the seichel, and then the way the seichel becomes the impact and influences the midas. And there's a big gap over there. So you can't have the entire seichel come down into the midas. There's only 10% of it, or one part of it, that comes down. So, in order for it to be the revelation of midas from seichel, so it's not possible that from the oir should come from the entire seichel into the midah. Can't come the whole thing, because that is way too high. It can only come from a 10%, a 10th from the seichel. Ukeneida, like it's known, that there's really no relationship, or it's infinitely no comparison between the seichel hamislabish b'hamidus, that part of the intellect which dresses up in the emotions, to become a reason and a moichin and an intellect for the emotion. If we compare that to the level of the etzes of the seichel, which is not yet related to the midas. So we can only get a 10th from it. Inyan gidim hamichabrim ha'atzomes im habosor chulu einshon. I guess the idea of the moichin that comes down to the midos are like the sinews, like the veins, the sinews that connect the bones with the flesh. The flesh over here would be the level of chokhmah bina. The bones would be the level of the emotion. And to connect the boss with that some is that's the gidim aishon. And because for this reason, so therefore, it's only a 10th of the seichel. That's why we call them each one 10, because as it relates to the emotions, they're only like 10%. Similar, we say with regards to the name Kale, which is called Hira the Chochmasa. That is the shine of Chochmah. What does it mean, the Hira? The Shem Kale is the way Chochmah comes down to Midas. The Spheres is the way the level of Spheres HaChochmah, as it comes down to Midas, that's the Shem Kale. Hainu, Asher Chochmah Bina Me'irim Be'idis, Midas. That which the Chochmah Bina, they shine in Midas. Like the pasuk says, Chesed Kale, the Chesed of Kale of Hashem of Kale, which means that the Kale gives to the Chesed from the level of Chochmah Bina. V'hu Meiser and that is a tenth. Yesh. Kale is 31. Yeah, kale is 31, then kale. So the letter kale 31 is a tenth from the letters of yesh. Yesh is 310. 31 is 10% of 310. So what is 310? 310 represents Chokhmah. Because Knei Chokhmah, Knei Bina, when we're talking about Knei Chokhmah, acquire Bina, is Gematria Yesh. That equivalent to 310. Kufnun Hey, each one is a 130, 155. 155 times 2, right? Knei is 155. 155 is 310. The two Kneis, the Knei is 155, and another Knei is for 5. One is for Chochmah, one is for Bina. So the 155, one is Gematria Yesh. So we see that Chochmah and Bina are called Yesh. And Kale is 31, is 10% from the V'chen. V'hu b'chinas malchus shebechochmah. What percentage? Since it's 10%, Kale. So in Chochmah, that's the malchus. The malchus shebechochmah is what comes down to the chesed. Ukemoshe kosev v'mokom achar al posik lefonai lenetzer Kale. Before me there was no Kale. Ayim b'zer kedushim daf pivov seif hamadal. Okay. So we know midas are 10%. What comes down from the level of Chokhmah is 10% from what is really Chokhmah. And now he's going to say the same thing is Chokhmah is 10% from Kesef, from what comes higher. Bine, HaSeichel, Shu Chokhmah Bina. Seichel, which is Chokhmah Bina. Who Gamkein, Asiris Milmailu Min HaSeichel, Hanikras B'chinas Meir. That's also 10% from above the Seichel, which is called Meir. Zeu Inyan Shomer Azal. So this is the Inyan, what our sages tell us. That Kemosei Shel Odom Arishain Hoyomeyam. That the height of Odom Arishain was 100 Amma, represented by that one Marishain is higher than Chochmah. And therefore, Chochmah is only 10, and it's 10% from the 100, which is higher than Chochmah. When we talk about higher than Seichel, there is many levels. There is Nefesh, Ruach, Uneshama, V'chaya Yichida. When we talk about within the Nefesh, in the human soul, you have Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, Chulu, and Chaya Yichida. So you have Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya. So those are the three, Machshava, Diva, those are the Inyan of Ishtalshlu. That's in the Seichel, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. And then you have a Chaya Yichida, Heim L'mayla Maseh. And the two levels of the Neshama of Chaya Yichida, they're above Seichel. The Neged, Hey, Bechinas, Naran Chaya Yichida, to correspond to these 5 levels of the Neshama, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya Yichida. Heim Hey, Bechinas, Haganal. So over there you have the 5 different levels that we mentioned before, because we were talking about Yechides, not singulars. We're talking about Assyrias, those are 10. We're talking about Mayas, hundreds. We're talking Alofim is thousands. We're talking about the Revavis, which are 10,000. Kibchinas Nefesh. So in the level of Nefesh, which is the lowest, is Mekabel Rak Mebchinas HaSidis Sheberuach. That gets a 10% of Ruach. And Balderech Zeh HaRuach Mebchinas HaNeshama Chulu. And similar, the Ruach gets to the Neshama. So it goes always 10%. Meyas, Alof, and Revavis. So 1,000 is 10% from 10,000. Meis is 10% from 1,000, and Asiris is 10% from 100, and 1 is 10% from 10. So it goes up. Singulars, tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000. I'm much close to there. So hine beginas rotzen elien hu lemailo masechel v'chochma. So he brought from the nefesh, but you're talking about the supreme will, the Eibshter's rotzen, which is higher than chochma, hu lemailo masechel v'chochma. And right now, it looked like we were talking about the nefesh, ruach, and neshama are the part of ishtalshelus. That's chochma, the chochma midas, and we have the level of chaya yichida. So to correspond, the rotzen elyon also has two levels, like corresponding to chaya yichida. Yesh b'zeh gam kei b'chinas rotzen v'chefetz. So in the rotzen is higher than seichel chochma, but it has two levels. Yesh b'zeh gam kei. Just like by the nefesh, there is two levels of chaya yichida. Over here, there's also beis b'chinas, two levels. It has rotzen v'chefetz. Rotzen, wanting. There's wanting and desire. What's the difference between rotzen and chefetz? Rotzen, who believe tam v'tainu. That's what I want. There's no reason. There's no pleasure. The basis of it is just a wish. It's not revealed. We don't know why. Like we use the language in the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Shtoik kach ola b'machshava." Be silent. That's the way it went up in my mind. The Eibishter says, I was arguing with the Eibishter, and the Eibishter says, Moshe Rabbeinu asks the Eibishter, how come? And the Eibishter says, "Shtoik, be silent." This is the way it went up in my mind. There's no reason for that. That's the level of Rotz. The Chefetz, but then you have Chefetz, another, that's the desire. That's already in a level where there is reason and there is pleasure. Over there in the Mamer Gabe David's Miras Karislu. David calls it Miras. Zo Inyan, and this is the idea of the pasuk. It says V'noitzer Chesed la'alofim. The noitzer, you have Chesed la'alofim, the number 1,000 from noitzer shemebchinas noitzer, which is oisios rotzen, level of noitzer. That's the same spelling letters as rotzen. From the level of rotzen nimshach umispashet b'chinas alofim. So over there you get and expands the level of alofim, of 2,000. What is the 2,000? Alef chachokma, alef chabina. So from rotzen you get alofim, you get 1,000, you get chachma bina from the level of rotzen. Balderech zeh, and similar, Amr Razal, HaTorah Kodmo Alpaim Shona. The Torah is 2,000 years before the world. And V'ayin b'Pri Etz Chaim, Shara Shabbos Perik Ches B'inyan Yismach Moshe says Elef Chalokim Shel Oir Chulu Ein Shom. Moshe Rabbeinu received the 10,000 levels of oil. So basically, we have the level of alofim, which is the level of rotzen, which is higher than tam, and then you have the level of chefetz, which is the level of tam. That's why David called it zmiris, meaning it was a joy, it was a song. There's reason over there. The It's explained elsewhere. We see by way of example by a person Shahatainug hu hanimshach mispashet ba'arichus v'hisrachus, that when the person is delight, enjoys, extends and expands at length and very wide, and more, a lot more than any of the other powers of the soul. The power of the pleasure of the soul is expanded beyond any of the other koiches hanefesh. We see that the level of tainug affects all powers of the person. Because delight there is in seeing and hearing, and all the person's qualities, the seichel ubemidos, in the intellect and emotion, always there's the idea of delighting in it. Who the essence, the light that one gets through seeing is different, is another style than the essence of the light that he has when he hears. Kimoy, for example, menigun uklei zemer, from a song or instrument. If a person hears an instrument, it's a different kind of a delight than the delight that you get from seeing something. Same thing is when you enjoy some idea. Then it's its own category of delight. The delights are different. Similar to this, there is many multiple types of tanugim, very different pleasures. Pleasures comes down in all the different levels. And it's known that the entire tainug that we have below is only that what fell from the shviras hakelim. And that's why Gan Eden utainig ein ketz. And that's why, because it comes really from a very high place, but with the tainug here is shviras hakelim, but Gan Eden is an infinite, because it comes to have the infinite tainug. As we say from the Gemara that the Alter Rebbe always brings down, it's better that Elisha ben Avi will be judged. At least he should be able to come to Gan Eden. So that's how much Gan Eden is valued. The Gan Eden ba'alma, and Gan Eden is just merely a ha'ora of the real thing. So still, we see how powerful the level of timing is. So therefore, along this idea, we understand that when we talk about the shine and the expansion of the supreme tainug is nikra revava. We call that 10,000. Legabe b'chinas rotzin, ha'oras rotzin shu b'chinas la'alofim. That's called, the rotzin is called thousands, and the chayfetz, the tainug, is called 10,000. Kihu rav v'nai yoser, because that's so much greater, out to the extent sheb'chinas asiris shebetainug, that it is a 10th of the level of tainug. It's only 1/10 of the tainug. The level of rotzen is 10%, is 1,000, because it's a 10% of the tainug, which is much greater than it. And this is what the pasuk says. And he says, Elef alofim yisham shuni. So it says 1,000 times 1,000 serve me. The ribu rivovon, and 10,000 times kadama yinkum and stand up. Ki mibchinas atik yomim. from the level of Atik Yom, from the level of Makir Chai Makir Ataynik Azai. So from that level, so Gam Mashenim Shechom Ispashet Mimenu Haora Ba'almo, the B'chinas Yishamshuni, also that which expands from Atik Yom, from the level of Chaim and Tainuk, the source of Tainuk. What comes out, and even when we talk about Yishamshuni, the Kamod Moyukumun is only who B'chinas Elef Alofim, very, very vogue. So that is in the level of 10,000 Ribavim. And why? Because it comes from the level of Tainuk. Since it comes from the level of Tainuk, and Tainuk is no limit, so therefore it comes down in a way of Elef Alofim Ribavim, not even though it's only a Ha'oreh, because we're talking Shamshuni, those who stand up before me, and it's not the essence of Atik Yom and Tainuk itself. It's still dispassionate to that extent. As it says in Hidra Rabba, Inyan Ribu Ha'almin Begalgalta Yosvin, the multitude of worlds that sit in the skull, that's Keser, that's the Atik Yom, and it talks over there that is Tresar Alfi Ribu Almin, talks about 13,000 times 10,000 of world. Zogam Kin Inyan, this is also the idea of Hallelujah, Kerev Gudle. Praise him to the good. Vihine Sora, we talk about Vahi Chai Sora, bringing down this pasuk. So Sora Ubchinas Matronisa, Ubchinas Malchus. You know what? Maybe we leave it over here.